Before this video gets started, I want to thank my sponsors. First off, I want to thank Booked In. That's a great scheduling app for anybody who's trying to find a mobile scheduling app that the customer does not have to download an app. They just fill out their information, super easy. Secondly, I'd like to thank 614 Barber Supply. Enter the code Eddie, save 5% off anything they sell. Thirdly, Gamma. Use code Eddie, save 10% across the board on all their products and Stylecraft. I want to preface this by saying that you can switch out your clipper for a trimmer and you can use a taper comb for any of the techniques that we discussed in this video. That's going to get you a little bit closer to the head when you need it. It'll help you eliminate those dark spots, give you a little bit more control. So feel free to use any of these techniques with trimmer over comb. How do we hold the comb? How will 2 strings stapled to a mannequin head help me understand this technique? How can I learn to cut hair as fast as the other barbers around me? These questions and more are going to be answered in this video. Something I hear all the time in the comments are, my haircuts are coming out clean, I think I'm starting to get it now, but it's taking me way too long. Of course, we can all appreciate the work done by celebrity barbers. But what about us trench barbers, who make money not only on quality, but quantity as well? Speed and efficiency are the keys here. If you can make it to the end, you'll find some time-saving tips that'll help you speed up your process as well as maintaining your quality. What's up, you guys? Welcome back to the
YouTube Barber Academy.
Salute to Eddie's Army. We are growing strong with over 300 videos to help you learn all things barber. And if that's something that interests you, you might want to enlist by clicking that subscribe button.
It's free.
After replying to hundreds of comments, running a few polls, asking all the questions I could ask, even going live on multiple occasions and even asking questions in my stories, I began to see a pattern and it helped me develop this video. And we are going to hopefully answer any and every question related to clipper over comb. If you guys would like to contribute to some of my polls or some of the comments that find their way into these videos, feel free to follow me on the community tabs where I'm constantly posting polls, I'm asking questions, and I'm trying to develop my videos by answering all these questions in my future uploads. And this lesson is also going to include homework and some practice suggestions later in the video, and I strongly recommend that you pick up a mannequin to get the most out of this video. I linked one down below. Make sure you get one with real human hair, not synthetic. I hope you guys are ready. Let's fix our bayonets and let's charge into this lesson. It's hard to teach clipper over comb without mentioning shear over comb, but I will have a separate video on shear over comb that's updated, and until then, I'm going to link this one right here. As soon as the new video is available, it will take its place. Among other things, shear over comb is used for fine-tuning, removing dark spots, adjusting density and detail, whereas clipper over comb is going to be used for blending, removing large amounts of bulk, shaping the beard properly, and adjusting the silhouette of the haircut towards the end. But I'm sure you already know this, so let's begin by breaking down how to do it. Essentially, we're creating a clipper guard and we're trying to maintain a distance from the head to get the blend perfect or to just cut the hair to the proper length. Let's start with the combs. The combs I prefer when it comes to teaching this technique in general are this one here. It's basic, it's cheap, and it comes with a lot of clippers right in the box. I posted a link for it below if you need to grab it, and I do like the bright colors because they're a little bit easier to see the hair that's coming through versus the black combs, which can be a little bit more difficult unless you're working on gray hair. A few things I just want to get off my chest before we move forward. This comb has a little channel that you can run your clipper along, and there's a lot of little gimmicky stuff like this out there in the marketplace. I think it's useless, and I would not advise you to use this channel, but don't fall for some of those gimmicks. Let's learn how to do this right. Which comb you choose will matter. Let me explain. If I was to take this comb, press it straight against the head, and cut every single hair that stuck out, I know for a fact that I'd be at about a 1.5 in length, which is 3/16 or 4.5 millimeters. As long as we know that, we can pre-cut the hair to the appropriate length, which for me is normally a 1.5 or a 2. This is a great launch point because as long as we don't stray too far from the comb, we can reduce the possibility of making mistakes. Now we know the idea of clipper over comb, but let's really unpack what part of the comb we should be focused on and why. One of the main advantages of clipper over comb is we're able to hold the hair without tension, and this allows you to cut the hair how it will lay rather than cutting it from a normal guideline under tension, because when we cut hair under tension, especially when it's wet, it shrinks back to its original fall position. This is the only hair that matters, the hair that falls at the bottom of the comb. Any other hair that falls in here, it can be cut without issue because the hair at the bottom of the comb is actually directed out to 90 degrees. First, let me describe how you find 90 degrees. You can find 90 degrees anywhere on the head by holding your comb straight out from the head. So all across the whole head. It's not a magic number made up from scratch. It comes from a protractor, and it just means to direct straight out from the head when it relates to cutting hair. Now, when you're combing through the hair, you're actually holding the hair straight out from where it grows, straight out from its base. So now, when other hair falls into your comb and it's cut, if it's not at the bottom of your comb, it's not really going to matter because it's going to remain longer. If it falls to the bottom of the comb, it's actually going to graduate for you. Let me demonstrate by cutting this. Okay, so you're going to notice one thing straight off the bat. This hair on top is a lot longer because it was directed away from 90 degrees. It was directed off of its base and down here. Now the other thing that's actually happening is gradually this hair is getting longer and it's actually starting to blend the hair for you. This is why clipper over comb works so well, and this is why the hair that's in the bottom of your comb matters the most. Hopefully this visual aid makes it click with some people, and we will be using visual aids like this to help teach how to cut the top, because I do think this is going to be easier. So in essence, you are cutting the hair how it will naturally lay. Let's practice rolling the comb. To do that, we first got to be holding it correctly. In the future, you can do what you want, but for now, try it my way. Some people will hold the comb like this. And there's two reasons why I don't do that. One, you have no control, you have no range of motion, and it's very easy if you hit a tangle or a snag to just wind up dropping it all together. So how do I hold the comb? Actually, we're going to grip it just like this with our two fingers pinching it, and you're going to notice a few things right off the bat. You got a lot more strength in your grip for one. You can actually roll it 180 degrees, which means that I'm going to be able to get into this hair and I'm going to be able to roll it right out without a problem. If I'm holding the comb like this, I can barely move my wrist just a tiny bit. So we're gonna cut off a very small amount of hair each time, and when we reset it, we're actually viewing what we just did, what the difference was. First, let's address the proper way to hold your clipper. We have the handshake grip. Just like I was shaking hands with somebody, I'm gonna hold it like this, right? We have the pencil grip. All right, just as I was writing with the pencil, this is the other grip that we're using. And we also have what I call the Freddy, the slasher. Realistically, they call this clipper position number 4, and it's going to give you a little bit more control when we're doing some of these techniques. Okay, there is a little tricky technique that you can use to use the clipper and the comb to cut the top of the hair if you so desire. You can actually follow the exact same guidelines laid out in my 90-degree how to cut the top video, which I'll link right here. The only thing that changes is we're gonna hold our clipper and our comb together in one hand, right? Then we're gonna lift our sections into our fingers and we're gonna cut. Lift our sections, cut. Lift our section, cut. That's a technique that you guys can experiment with on your mannequin. And in the future, if you guys want, drop it in the comments and I'll make a full tutorial on that technique. However, I do think it's better to use your shears. It'll give you more control and it'll give you a softer cut. Now be careful when you approach the comb. Don't bump and grind into it like it's 05 and rap is still good. This is more of a waltz, and it's going to require a bit of finesse. We want to be gentle when we take the clipper across the comb. Before we talk about this, let's talk about how the clipper should be set up, and I want to address this because a lot of comments came in. Should I use a guard? Should the clipper be in the open position? Should it be in the closed position? Well, I'm going to tell you right off the bat, I like to use a detachable clipper with a 5-0. And this eliminates any confusion for me. I can see exactly what's being cut as it's being cut off. And I would recommend for you guys who don't have a detachable to put your clipper in the closed position. Now, if you're not sure if you have the right tools or if your tools are set up correctly, go check out my Barber Survival Guide video before you keep going. Now, those of you who do have your tools set up correctly and you understand it, we're basically going to be holding the comb 3 different ways. One is horizontal, one is vertical, and one is diagonal. Now, when we move the clipper across the comb, it might sound simple, right? But as we talked about it before in other videos, you want to tip your clipper slightly so it can glide across these teeth without getting snagged. If I go too far horizontal, I can easily make a mistake. What effect does cutting vertically, horizontally, or diagonally have on the head? So let's talk about it. The vertical hold, pretty straightforward. Slide it in the hair, tip it out, and cut what sticks out. Now, whenever I'm cutting vertically, I can't recommend doing it that way. I would recommend actually holding it horizontally and tipping it out. Now we can cut vertically. We have a lot of control over our movements, and it essentially mimics the same way that a guard works. It's one of my favorite techniques to use in the taper area or just all around when I'm making small adjustments. Cutting diagonally. Now here's the king of all the techniques, most of the time spent doing clipper over comb is going to be in the parietal ridge area. So that's just simply where the hair leaves the comb if I put it on the side of the head like this. And it travels all the way around the head. Now, a couple things happen for me and a couple effects happen when I'm cutting diagonally. When I'm cutting diagonally, I begin to blend the hair already. I have less chance of building up too much weight, and it just becomes very easy for me to pivot around my anchors, which we're going to talk about in a second. Now, the third way we might cut is the horizontal hold when we're lifting and we're cutting, or we're just holding it still and we're cutting. Now, a lot of people have asked about the lift cut. I'm going to tell you right now, you do not need to lift when you cut. You don't really need to move this. As long as you're maintaining the distance, it doesn't really matter what you're doing. But when should you be lifting when you're cutting? I do that when I'm trying to remove large amounts of hair quickly and I'm moving fast. Don't feel like you just have to do this fast for the sake of doing fast. Speed will come later as you develop your skills. But for now, just do it slow, cut a very small amount of hair off, comb it down, reset it, and use your eyes to check what adjustment just happened or what needs to happen next. Now, you're going to come to a point where you're going to get the blend pretty good, and then you know it's time to back off of this technique because again, this is for removing a good amount of bulk, getting the blend started, but we're going to refine this with shear over comb or our guards or whatever else. So don't be so hung up on making clipper over comb absolutely perfect because it is not the end all be all. So how do I maintain consistency, whether I'm holding it vertically, horizontally, or diagonally? Well, the key is anchoring and pivoting. So let's talk about that. A lot of times you're actually going to see that I'm using my pinky to create some space from the head and maintain that distance wherever I'm at in the cut. Now, I also might use my knuckle, I might use my whole hand. Another way that I actually anchor is with the back of the comb. When we're able to cut them closer lengths, I can tip the back of the comb, I can keep it pressed on the head, and I can stay reasonably accurate because I have a nice anchor on the head. Now, if I'm just floating out here, it's very easy for me to make a mistake. It's very easy for me to bully the comb. So I would encourage you guys to create a brace, use your knuckles, use your finger, use the back of your comb, and try to maintain consistency. Now, the nice thing is also the pivot. Now, if I was to actually use my knuckles right here on this section, I can just pivot around it and I can take care of a nice big section while maintaining my accuracy. I would encourage you guys with your mannequins to try to use your pinky, try to use your knuckle, try to use your hand, or try to use the back of your comb to create a nice anchor point and try to work on that pivoting technique so that you guys can develop some accuracy. And with that being said, let's head over to the shop and let's check out a full clipper over comb tutorial. Briefly, I might add, because I know I'm going to take up too much of your time, but we want to hammer this out so I give you something great to practice with. Okay, the operative word here is going to be to move slow. We don't have to move fast. We don't have to take off a whole lot. Just because you see other people doing it doesn't make it the case. I'm just going to try to travel up the center, in the back, and I'm going to establish a guideline. And once I reach the top or close to where I want the top to end, I'm going to start transferring it out to the left and to the right. I'm doing a couple diagonal holds here. This is generally how I'll try to hold it if I'm trying to do any type of blending. I just wanted to show it as an example. The angle that I'm tipping the comb out does not have to maintain, you don't have to maintain any type of consistency. Like you don't have to say it's got to be 45 degrees. Hold it on the angle that makes sense and cut. Towards the bottom, you're actually able to anchor the back of the comb right on the scalp, and that's going to increase stability. I always encourage you guys to anchor whenever you can. And most of the time in a longer haircut like this, that's going to be around the hairline because as you notice, as I start getting up and lifting the comb further away from the head, I have less options for an anchor. But if you see my pinky sneaking in there, creating a little stability, I'm always trying to create some type of bridge because it's going to help you develop your consistency. Now, on this right side, I'm going to start moving the clipper a little bit different. It's moving away from me. I call this the pimp juice. We're just backhanding it, but this is sort of like a backhand movement away. And you just have to do whatever you got to do to get that clipper in there. The ear is going to be in the way on this side. Normally, I'll tip the ear down and I'll go around when I go around that front side. But for the most part, we just want to make sure that our back is good, consistent, and looking good. And then we can transfer it out to the front, just like in our blunt cut. All right, so here I am taking that guide. You can see it falling out of the comb in the back, and I'm just moving it forward, just tipping it out on an angle down towards the hairline. I can push it right up into the head, and I can get that hair as close as possible with this comb. However, when I need to get closer, I'll switch out my clipper for a trimmer, and I'll pick up a taper comb, and I can even use the small end of the taper comb if I need to for detailing or for getting closer. But as you see right here, this big comb, I'm realizing right now that this isn't going to be good enough for me. I want to get a little closer in his sideburns, so I'm just going to switch out to a trimmer here in a second. Now there goes that horizontal hold where I'm sort of moving up with the clipper similar to a guard. And all I'm doing is I'm holding the comb still and I'm moving it along that comb. Same thing with the trimmer over comb here, holding it still, lifting it slightly maybe, but for the most part I'm just traveling along that comb just like it was a clipper guard, just trying to maintain that length. And that's pretty much it, you guys. I want you guys to go ahead and grab your mannequin, give this cut a few tries, don't take off too much in the first go round or you just pretty much wasted your opportunity to practice. But hopefully you can do a bunch of haircuts on that mannequin and develop some real skills so you can feel some confidence when you go into the shop with this or when you try it on an actual client. Now, watching this video will not be enough for you to master this technique. You're going to need some practice, and I've heard all the excuses. I don't know anybody who will let me practice on them. I can't get any practice. Here's your solution. Grab a mannequin, and you can practice without the fear of making mistakes. I would recommend trying a full haircut, clipper over comb, keep the hair around 3 inches long, try blending some of them longer guards into the top, and finish with the most important cut you should practice, and that is going to be a flat top. You may find this hideous, or something that's beneath you. But trust me, this cut will be your greatest teacher to learn clipper over comb. So get out there and start practicing. Fail, make mistakes, try again, build some confidence, and master clipper over comb. I have a full tutorial on the flat top. It was designed to build off of this lesson. If you guys would like to check it out to give you some ideas about how to approach this cut on your mannequin, I'll link it right here. If you're following your way through my 6 phases, you know that this is phase 2. Now that we've completed it, we can move on to phase 3 and we can learn how to cut the top. Also, for my dedicated subscribers, I have a book that I will be releasing soon that details all kinds of useful information regarding my 6 phases. It's not a book like a book, but it's more of like a handbook with helpful graphics and step-by-step breakdowns how to do each one of the techniques that we discussed throughout the 6 phases. Now also, a portion of the book sales will be going to support a great cause which I will be unveiling soon. In fact, not soon, real soon, I'm going to unveil it right now. What we're going to be doing is called the Barber Tuition Initiative. I will be taking profits earned from the book, profits donated by you guys through the Kickstarter, and profits donated from my sponsors to use all that money to actually go around the country and pay off some of the barber students' tuitions that are in need. So I will be looking for people who are struggling, people who are down on their luck, or people who are just trying to get through barber school but can't make it financially, and I plan to surprise them by paying off their tuition in full through the help of all my sponsors, all of you guys on the Kickstarter, and also my book sales. So once that book releases, we're going to be building on it, we're going to be rocking, we're going to keep growing the army. The army is almost 100,000 strong, and I know before long we're really gonna start to take off. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video for clipper over comb, and I want to tell you guys there is a part 2 to my phase 2. It's actually shear over comb, and I worked just as hard on that video as I did on this video, and I believe it's going to be also one of the best performing videos on my channel. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to link that right here. I want you guys to go ahead and check that out before we move over to phase 3. And if you guys have watched both the clipper over comb and the shear over comb video, then I think it's time that we all travel together into phase 3. Did I say phase 3? Let's move on to phase 3 together, and let's talk about how to cut the top. I'll see you guys in that video. Peace. I hope that I killed it for you. I hope that this brings some serious understanding to clipper over comb, which is one of the most difficult lessons you could possibly learn. And if you guys think I did a good job, drop the comment below, Eddie's Army, and let me know. Thank you guys so much for watching. This is the YouTube Barber Academy, and I'll see you guys in the phase 3 video. Peace.